Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Claudia Monticelli, the host of this podcast, Let's Talk Soul. Over the years, after having interviewed so many people on so many different topics, I realized that what interested my audience wasn't really the individual topics per se, but was how it impacted them, how it touched their soul. So I'll invite you all to lay back, put your feet up, and if you like what you hear, leave a review, 5-star review. I'd appreciate that. So just enjoy your listening. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Claudia Monticelli with another episode, and today I have with me Stephanie Jordan. Stephanie, say hello to our audience.
Hi, so glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. Stephanie's talking to us from Alabama today. You'll catch her accent for sure. And who is she? Who is she? What is she doing here? Why is she talking to me? Stephanie is an author. She's a teacher. She's a speaker. She has been a cosmetologist for 24 years. Do you know, Stephanie? I went out and looked that up because I thought, it can't just be about cosmetics, could it? It must be about the cosmos. And sure enough, it was about cosmetics. Cosmetologist, my bad. For 24 years, she has 5 amazing kids and 4 extras that her husband brought into the family. My God, it's not quite a soccer team, but it's more than a baseball team. She has 1 dog and 2 cats, and she has broad life experiences and likes adventure. She loves Jesus. We'll be talking about that during this episode, and intends to spend her life sharing his message in an unconventional way. We'll see what you mean by that. She has a sort of artistic and rock and roll style influence in terms of her outlook on life and living it to the fullest. She's passionate about riding her Harley Davidson Sportster 48 and reading, writing, and painting. I can just see her. For those of you who don't have the benefit of the video, she is a wild woman, beautiful wild. So Stephanie, now I'm not going to ask about the 5 amazing kids and plus the 9. Okay, that's something I don't want you to remember right now. All right, let's talk about your religious, because when you talk about Jesus, I'm wondering if you mean an institutionalized religious view on Jesus. What do you mean by that? Let's go back in terms of how you grew up and how you were exposed to religion or religious beliefs.
Okay, so that's a great question. I grew up in a Christian home.
Uh-huh.
And so
in Alabama. Was it in
Alabama?
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. And so I had always known about God my whole life. We always went to church, all that sort of stuff. And I just always had a really deep conviction that God was very real and that Jesus was very real.
Let me ask you, is Alabama part of the Bible Belt or not?
We are in the south.
I see.
Of the United States. Yes.
Okay. So that must have influenced you as well.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Both good and negative.
Yeah. Right. Positively and negatively. Yeah. We'll talk about both though. So go on. Yeah, because what I read is, like everyone on this planet, unfortunately, we have highs and lows, and some of those highs are very high, and some of them are very low. The high is the highs, the low is the lows. So usually what I get when I speak to people like you is that at a very low point is when this discovery or awakening comes out. But from what you say, it seems that it followed you all during your life.
Yeah, right? I remember God talking to me back even when I was a child. Mm-hmm. I just didn't know what it was.
Can you describe it for us? How it came about?
Like, my stepdad's name is Jack, and mm-hmm. I hated him. He hated me. We had a very tumultuous relationship. And I remember one day hearing, "You're going to marry a Jack." And I was like, oh, no. No, that's never going to happen. Well, my late husband was Jackie.
Ah.
That's not what he went by. He went by Jay, but his legal name was Jackie. And I was like, oh,
Wow.
this is so wrong.
So how long had you been widowed? When did he pass? After all of the
December
children were
of
born?
2014.
Were those 5 children his?
So my oldest son
Mm-hmm.
is by my ex-husband.
Yeah. Okay.
He was an alcoholic and
Uh-huh.
he ended up beating me up when I was pregnant.
No, dear. Mm-hmm.
And so I left him
Uh-huh.
and I tried to work the marriage out for 2 years, but he was
Mm-hmm.
never going to sober up. He was never going to
Okay.
get
Okay.
better.
Uh-huh.
So then when I remarried Jay, we had the 4 together.
Okay. I see. I see. So that's tumultuous is the right word to use. So now we're going back and forth into the religious, but was there a moment, apart from the initial talking and the ability, knowing that you had the ability to hear something, you had this clairaudience in some way, because that is part of being clairaudience, I mean, that is a gift. Not everybody hears voices. Did subsequently, after that first time, did something particular happen that then started another cycle or another emphasis on you leaning on religion? Yeah, I don't know if I put that right, but I think you understood.
Yeah, well, interestingly, because of my rebellious nature and my
Yeah.
rebellious attitude,
Yeah, I'd say that.
my kind of rock and roll attitude,
Yeah.
I wanted to do things my own way. And when I
Mm-hmm.
was 19, I had a
Yeah.
dream of God calling me to ministry. And I was
Ah,
like, nope,
ain't
you got
going
the
there.
wrong person. I don't know your
This
word. I'm
girl
not
ain't
living for
going.
you. Yeah, this ain't happening,
Yeah, yeah.
And I just had no idea how. So there's a scripture in the book of Proverbs that says a
Mm-hmm.
foolish man will have a fill of himself. And buddy, I got a fill of myself.
Yeah.
And
Well, then what happened after that? Come on, pray tell. We're
so
sitting on the edge of my seat here.
that was when I married my ex-husband that was the
Jay?
alcoholic and
Oh, the
got
first.
pregnant.
Uh-huh.
Yes. So all of that happened. And he was not a Christian. He was not a believer. And I had started going back to church right before the abuse happened.
Okay.
And when the abuse happened, it was awful. I mean, I struggled with suicidal thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
suicidal tendencies, and God really protected me from
Mm-hmm.
myself at that point
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because I was in a really bad space, a really dark space. And
Mm-hmm.
I had a
I'm
lot of stuff
listening
to
to you,
clean.
and I hate to interrupt, but as I'm listening to you say that, I'm I'm thinking, I don't think I know one woman who has not gone through some form of abuse, mental or physical. I don't know one, no matter how rich, how poor. All the women I know have experienced abuse. Now, I don't think that this is supposed to comfort us in any way, but just to make you feel that we've all been through it.
Yes.
So how much time passed between when you stopped the relationship with the first husband and then got to Jay?
So we were separated for 2 full years
Uh-huh.
before our divorce went through.
Yeah.
So I was still married, but we were not together, as
Yeah.
in he spent actually a year of that time in jail.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Uh-huh.
so not unfortunately not because I had him arrested, but I believe he spent a year in city jail on public intoxication charges.
Oh, dear,
Who does
lovely.
that?
Uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. Well, lots of
But
people apparently. Yeah, I'm sure.
I felt like God had done that for me so I could
Ah,
separate
to
my
get him
heart
right. Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
I needed space. And so
Wait a minute now.
two
Wait a minute.
weeks,
Wait a minute. Now, sorry. So we got one husband out of the way. Did
yes.
I see that, you wrote authors, you're right? There's book or books here. When did that happen? Did it happen right after this or much
It did
later?
not. No, I was still not anywhere near mature enough at that point.
Okay, I see. As she
I was
laughs.
a late bloomer, if you will.
A woman after my own heart.
Yes.
And there's one positive thing about that. It seems that the later you bloom, the later you age. It's a good thing.
I will take that. I will take that. Absolutely.
So now you have the dogs, the cat, and or the dog and the cats, but all the children after that. Now, when exactly? Because I'm looking at, and I will in the description of this episode put down all of your website, how people can find you, Stephanie. But I'm seeing her website is called thestephaniejordan.com. Now, and even Instagram, why is the Steph? Are there many other Stephanie Johnsons, or why the?
Too many. Yes. Too many people have my name. Okay. So I was originally going to launch, with the Recovering Southerner, because that's kind of what I call myself.
You mean a book or? Oh, the name of your
kind of
domain.
My branding.
Yeah. The Recovering Southerner.
Yes.
The recovering. And then you'd have to change that once you were recovered. So I'm sure you kicked that out soon.
Well, it was more because I was in competition for like the addiction recovery, which is not what I was referring to.
Okay.
Mine is more recovering your health, your heart, and your head. So mine didn't have to do with substance recovery, which is what typically. So when we were looking at like search engine optimization and stuff, that was just too much.
Yeah.
And it was too broad spectrum.
Yeah.
And yes, there are too many Stephanie Jordans out there. So I had to specify that I'm
Stephanie Jordan.
Jordan.
The Stephanie Jordan. You have an Amazon link that I'll increase, and how many books I see one book and then the ebook. Are they the same book? Or are they?
Those are both the same book. I have 2 books total, but right now, but the first book you can't get on Amazon currently. I'm actually going to relaunch it and add some information to it, because I wrote it back in 2011. And so
you were a different
I just have more
there.
Information.
Okay. So what is the book that I will be referring to in the description? What's the name of
this book? Is called Believing in Boundaries.
Oh, okay. And I don't think that I have to ask you too many questions about that, because from what you told us so far, I get the picture. And you needed the prison to put the boundary up.
So. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so now you have this. Let's say I did say you were a cosmetologist, all right, but it seems to me it's a has been, so it's a past verb. And that means today you're doing something of a different nature, which I don't, please correct me, because you're not working as a therapist, or you're not working to help people recover, things like that, but you are sort of, can I say that what you're doing is spreading the word of your faith? Is that it? Or no?
So that is, yes, that is definitely my primary goal, is to minister the Christian faith.
So going back to what you were told, you were going to become a minister at 19 years old. And this is what you mean.
Yes.
And can you give us an example of how you do that? Now, be practical.
Well, so one thing is sharing my message through books. I understand a lot about trauma and abuse situations and things that I've been through. So really a lot of my audience, I want to go for people that have been in traumatic situations, because I feel like I can relate. Right.
Yeah.
And, I feel like what you said earlier, that you don't know a single woman that hasn't been through that.
Well, of course. Yeah.
So there's a huge audience out there of people that I don't know are being taught to or loved on from that perspective.
Yes. I'm trying to think, because every time I interview someone and I look at their background, I like to know how I'm going to call the episode before I talk to them, which is stupid, right? Now, for some reason, looking at your background, I wrote life and death, spirituality, and practicality. And when I just read that now, I thought, wait, that must not be her. But then I notice, of course, that, being a widow is talking about death, and life is the recovery into what you're doing now. And practicality is the day-to-day. Spirituality, of course, is your religious offer, your faith, and then practicality. In terms of practicality, we know what it takes to keep the dog, the cat, the kids, food on the table every day. And beyond talking to podcasts like you are today and a book that you write, do you have other outlets, or I don't know, what do you have on your website? If we go to your website, what are we going to see?
So I have an online course launching any minute.
Good. I'm checking my watch.
Yes. I have been working on it diligently for months and months. So right now we're doing the detailing of like how to pull it together, how to make it make sense, getting all the stuff.
Yeah.
Just those finite last minute details, and then it will be launched. And I'm super excited about
okay,
that.
because I went there and it's not there. I went to the website and it's not claimed. The domain is not there. So like you said, any minute, but I will put it in the description because she'll be true to her word. When we talk about practicality, how can the spiritual element, your faith, feed into the practical? It's not a trick question, and it's something you need to think about, I'm sure. But you have Jesus here, and God, or the way you characterize or distinguish both of them is not of interest really, but the way that feeds into what you're going to do tomorrow, how I'm going to write my book, and what kind of food I'm going to put on my table. How does that work for you? Because a lot of people have, they're way up over their third eye in terms of trying to get information, often losing sight of, their feet on the ground and what they have to do, pay the bills. And in this case, how do you work that out?
So currently I am still doing hair as far as paying my bills.
Okay.
But because I've just been doing this for about a year. Like I published my book last May, and so been working on my course. So all this is still fairly new for me.
Right.
But I do intend to launch a church this year called the Garbage Can.
Okay, now wait a minute. You can't just throw that at me. Throw the garbage can at us. All right, now it's funny because today I went to an accountant. I had to get information because I wanted to open a shop, and you're making me think about it. And I said, look, I want to do this, but I don't want to do it for money. And the guy started laughing. Whoa, well, how are you going to put food on the table? And he was asking me this. And I said, well, yeah, okay, I want to cover the bills. I just don't want to have all of the problems with knowing and all of that. And he said to me, all right, you can create an association, a nonprofit association. Okay. And now when you say and I thought, oh my God, that's so big. It's so big. So when you said just now, I want to launch a church, it made me laugh so hard because, oh, geez, a kick in the bucket. I mean, now how exactly do you launch churches in your neck of the woods?
So you have to have a board, right? To get the 501c3, you have to have a board. So there will have to be an overseer board.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I kind of the same thing that you're talking about. I don't want to get lost. I obviously have a large family and we have to feed ourselves and all of that sort of stuff. But if I made $1 million every year, there was an old worship leader that passed away in a car accident. And I love the way he did this. He made millions off the songs he wrote. He wrote some of the most famous worship songs ever.
Yeah.
And he only lived off $50,000 a year. And so,
which is fine. Yeah.
And I was like, that's how I want to do this. Like, no matter how much money there's ever out there, I want to always be able to live in a relatively small amount and a relatively like natural, normal sum, because I'd never want to get lost, what you said, with the money problems, right? All the stuff that can come along with that, and like the pursuit of that. And so with the church, like launching the 501c3, the way that I have it set up is there's not really so much like a lead pastor. This will not be like anything you've ever seen.
But no, what I'm asking is, though, why would you do this?
Why would I launch a church?
Yeah. Why
in the Bible Belt where there's churches everywhere?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Why another church? The garbage can?
Because this, going back to my unconventional perspective.
Oh,
this
the Harley. Okay,
totally,
I get it. Yeah.
Totally different than what has been done in churches in America so far.
Give me an example. Give me something so I can get my teeth into it. What's so different? What would be different?
So one is, even though it's kind of a Protestant side of Christianity, I will be using the art of confession, which you don't see in Protestant churches. You only see that in Catholic churches. However, I don't believe in the rosary and praying to Mary and things like that. So that will not be incorporated. But the art of confession is a beautiful thing that I feel like we've lost. And so that will be something that we participate. Also, there will not be like a lead pastor. We will be seeking out fivefold ministry, which is a teacher, evangelist, apostle, teacher, evangelist, apostle, preacher, and there's one I can't think at the moment.
It doesn't matter. We get the picture. We get the picture, all right. So there
will be 5
full-time endeavor. I mean,
it will be.
Just don't have any more kids. I mean, this is going to be
no, sister. My husband is fixed. That was one of his selling points.
Okay, good. So now what would be if I said to you, okay, look, Stephanie, I got you to tell me why another church in the Bible Belt, but now what ultimately do you want to get out of it? Personally, I would be happy if this new church, What would that be?
So, I mean, really, my faith belief system says to go and make disciples. And so my whole heart and goal is to make people that are passionately in love with Jesus, that are living through the power of the Holy Spirit.
Okay, hang on.
And want to speak to others.
We have an international audience usually that listens to me. When you talk about disciples, can you sort of put a definition on that for us?
Well, that's what I was saying. So people that are passionately in love with Jesus, that are living through the power of the Holy Spirit and sharing the message of the gospel.
Okay, so
they're really my heart.
Those are let's say the outsourcing people. They go and they spread the word. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
And I mean, I'm sure that you have already. Why the garbage can?
It's nothing super profound, but there was a meme that had Oscar the Grouch that said, it's not called the garbage can't, it's called the garbage can. And I was like, I'm going to name a church that. Because when you felt like garbage, when you've been treated like garbage, when you think you're garbage, you'll know where you want to be.
Okay. All right. Now that's great. Oh, gee. I don't know how to thank you, Stephanie, for this very lively conversation. And I'm sure we, missed a couple of points, but that's That's okay. That's okay. So there's a long road ahead here for you. And maybe further down the road, we can hook up again and maybe you can give us an update on this church. That would be interesting.
Yes, I would love that.
Where? In Alabama?
My plan is to start here, but I'm hoping to take it even nationally. I mean, internationally. Like if anybody in your audience is listening and wants to pop me an email, and I've got structure set up, and hey, I'm down to have a conversation. So
okay, let's see. Talking about the email, I'm looking at the email here. Is there an email? No, they can go through your website though, right? Or through your
so it's author at thestephaniejordan.com.
Okay, author at thestephaniejordan.com. Okay.
Yes.
Well, Stephanie, thank you so much. And it was a pleasure to talk to you.
I've had a blast. It was such a good time. So thank you for having me.
You're welcome.